Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. And before we begin, I just wanted to say I hope all my fellow MGTOW brothers out there are having a superb Friday on this holiday, or monthly holiday that is. And today I want to kind of switch a little focus on what I normally talk about in my other MGTOW videos. In this MGTOW video, I sort of wanted to cover the topic of our ancestors, believe it or not. And here's why I want to talk a little bit about our ancestors. As a MGTOW, I think it's important to understand a little bit about our origins as MGTOW and as Red Pillars. And if we go back to the not too distant future, our ancestors, like it or not, gentlemen, as much as we may despise the blue pill, our ancestors were blue pillars. I mean, let's face it. If it hadn't been for our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents, going the traditional route in society, then none of us would exist. So, I think, personally, from a MGTOW perspective, it's a little important to give some gratitude and credit where credit is due. Because without the blue pill, the red pill wouldn't really have come to be. Without, recognizing the flaws and errors of the blue pill, such as the risks involved in being a provider, and the risks associated with marriage, and the mistakes made by our ancestors, such as divorce settlements, paying alimony, and unhappy careers and lifestyles. I think it's important to sort of shine a little reflection on what we've learned from the past. And when we do this, we can sort of recap on why we became red pillars. And I think it's important to understand that without blue pill men, the red pill just wouldn't exist. It would be non-existent on some level. So as much as we might despise the blue pill, I think it's still an important factor to understand the history of gender dynamics, because that's how we were able to point out these flaws, learn from the flaws, and have a revolution such as MGTOW and the red pill. So really what we are compared to the blue pill are descendants. Red pillars are descendants of blue pillars by default, because one could not come to be without the other. So when you look at, your grandparents and further back in history and the centuries before this current one, we can kind of see and understand the full dynamics and spectrum of female and male relations. And because of this is why we are red pillars. So whether we really like it or not, there is a little bit of blue pill in all of us, I think. And what the red pill really is our attempt to fight it. Not think with our penises, but think with our brains, because we have had a revolution in mind, body, and spirit. And I guess you could say, think of it in terms of the original 13 colonies in the United States, how they were colonies of Britain, but at some point they had to declare independence because they saw the flaws in some of the systems that they were confronted with. And the red pill is like the same thing. We've declared our independence. We have moved on, we've had a revolution, and we are now forming our own social trends and our own culture. We've broken free of the matrix, we've escaped the matrix. We've declared our social and spiritual independence from women and society as a whole, and no longer seek the acceptance or approval of women, other people, or society as a whole. And because we no longer seek this, we are spiritually stronger, because we've learned that there's more to life than being a provider, and there's more to life than settling down with someone. the blue pillars of the past were always told that there was always a special somebody out there, and they just had to wait until they found the right one, or they just had to, you know, hold on until they came across the right woman. But we've come to realize that nowadays that's just not the case. You know, we've understood that this was a lie, and we've basically formed a rebellion against all of this in our own unique ways. I mean, no MGTOW is the same as the next. Every MGTOW has their own individual path. Every MGTOW comes from their own walk of life, and I think that's what really makes us unique as a whole. MGTOW wasn't decentralized on accident, gentlemen. MGTOW was decentralized on purpose because the founders of MGTOW knew that men going their own way couldn't all be the same. They just couldn't all be the same. They all had different obstacles they're faced with, confronted with. They all had different circumstances, and they all hailed from different walks of life. And because of that, they knew no MGTOW was going to be the same. But they did all have one resembling trait. They realized the flaws within the system of things. They realized that there were flaws in gender dynamics. They realized there were flaws in the dating game, the mating game, and the rat race. And when they realized these flaws, it was mostly from observing their parents, who were blue pillars, and their grandparents, who were blue pillars, who talked about many of these flaws, or were faced and confronted with many of these flaws, and we've learned from that. So, the next time you do encounter that blue pillar, especially when they could be your parents or your grandparents, or maybe even some of the friends you know who are co-workers and what have we, yeah, you know you probably won't go back to being a blue pillar, but what you do know is that because of the blue pill, there exists a red pill. And though we may not like it, when we look at blue pill men, we may be seeing a former reflection, or a little bit of a reflection, at least, of ourselves. Because without our ancestors who were blue pillars, who were driven to procreate, play the role of provider, and basically be part of the mating game, we wouldn't have come to be. And so I just kind of wanted to shine a little light about this, because I think this is some of the foundational principles behind the red pill. Because if you think about it, a lot of red pill men at one point were blue pill men, you know, and the reason they became red pill was because they saw the system was not in their favor, so they had a revolution from within and broke free of the shackles that was gripping them, and they are truly liberated, and so are we. So I just thought it was a little bit of an importance to shine some light on the history of the red pill, because like it or not, gentlemen, I think it goes back further than we realize, and I think some credit has to be paid where credit is due. So if you guys have any thoughts on this, please do feel free to share in the comment sections below. Jot your thoughts out there. What do you think about this? And please subscribe, and until the next time, later.